Good afternoon. I'm Christine Salle, and I'll be your guide through the first half of this presentation. Today, we will be presenting our small modular reactors, the new design nuclear power needs. This is a collaborative project brought to you by Terry Croft and Christine LaSalle of Thomas Edison State University. The nuclear power industry is facing a crisis of cost. Natural gas prices are at historic lows, and the popularity of highly subsidized renewables such as wind and solar power is rising, while startup capital costs for nuclear generation stations continue to skyrocket. As nuclear power plants are closing early due to cost, natural gas utilization rates rise to fill the electrical gap. Despite the wide availability of these alternative power sources, nuclear generating stations are vital to maintain electrical grid stability through all types of weather and natural disasters. The ability to create a new reactor design that is economically sound, easily constructed, and safe is vital if nuclear power is to survive as this bedrock energy source. We will be exploring the feasibility of small, modular reactors as a solution to the dilemma the nuclear industry finds itself in. We will be summarizing the small modular reactor concept with the goal of determining if the development of advanced modular reactors can be the key to maintaining the future of nuclear power as a worldwide energy source. As a result of early World War II research, the MAUD Committee released two reports in 1941, Use of Uranium for a Bomb and Use of Uranium as a Source of Power. The former was a cornerstone for the Manhattan Project, but the latter would eventually lead to the development of nuclear boilers, later christened reactors, in the post-World War II era. In June of 1954, the first nuclear reactor to be used for energy production was started up at the Institute of Physics and Power Engineering, situated in the closed city of Obninsk, 100 kilometers southwest of Moscow. It was a water-cooled, graphite-moderated design that produced a mere 5 megawatts. Today, 31 countries operate 403 reactors of various designs at much higher energy production levels. The latest designs can generate up to 1,600 megawatts per reactor. As one of the world's largest producers of nuclear energy, the United States utilizes a combination of pressurized water reactors and boiling water reactors to make up its 99 reactor fleet. However, most of these reactors are older, with only one new unit opening in the last 20 years, and 2 more under construction. Even with the lack of new construction, nuclear energy is responsible for 20% of the United States baseload energy production. The United States is far from being alone in its use of nuclear energy. Several other countries have distinguished themselves as major players in the nuclear energy game. Of the principal utilizers, France relies most on nuclear energy. That country's 56 reactors provide a whopping 72.3% of France's energy. Elsewhere in Europe, Germany gets 13% of its energy needs from its 8 nuclear reactors. The island nation of Japan is still in recovery from the catastrophic loss of the Fukushima reactors in 2011, as well as the subsequent shutdown of all Japanese nuclear stations. However, 20 of its 33 reactors are under review for restart, with 5 already returned to service. The remainder are in long-term storage, with several too damaged for action beyond containment at this time. The most recent new reactor to enter commercial operation in the United States is Watts Bar Unit 2, a part of the Tennessee Valley Authority, in October of 2016. Prior to that, however, it had been 20 years since a new commercial reactor saw its first startup. TESU's sister unit, Watts Bar 1. 2 other projects, with a total of 4 new reactors, had been under construction when energy giant Westinghouse declared bankruptcy in early 2017, citing massive cost overruns at these projects. This bombshell failure led to the abandonment of the partially built units at VC Summer, South Carolina, in July of 2017, and put the 2 new units at Vogtle in Georgia in a holding pattern. In addition to construction woes, the nuclear industry in the United States has fallen victim to a wave of premature closures of otherwise viable nuclear generating stations. Amongst the units shuttered with time left on license are Fort Calhoun, Vermont Yankee, San Onofre, Kewaunee, and Crystal River. Moreover, without state intervention, the plants at Oyster Creek and 3 Mile Island will also be decommissioned ahead of end of life within the next few years. Why is nuclear power facing this apparent collapse? A number of factors must be considered to find the answer. Cost, safety concerns, high-profile accidents, natural gas abundance, and green energy development and subsidies all play significant roles in the decline of nuclear power. The biggest factor in the current nuclear crisis is money. Nuclear power is an expensive venture. Capital costs, that is, the actual cost of nuclear plant construction, has skyrocketed in the last few years, with cost overruns at the site in South Carolina and Georgia extending into the billions of dollars. Plant operating costs include fuel cost and spent fuel storage, as well as maintenance. These costs tend to be lower than their counterparts at conventional plants. External costs are those related to the health of the environment and surrounding community. They are not exclusive to the plant itself, but must be considered when determining energy cost. Miscellaneous costs include items such as alternative power for when the plant is not operating, Safety concerns, particularly in the wake of the Fukushima accident, also play a role in the decline of nuclear power. When the Japanese nuclear facility was catastrophically affected by an earthquake and subsequent tsunami in 2011, it reignited a firestorm of debate about the safety of nuclear power, without much regard to the uniqueness of the circumstances that caused the disaster. Fukushima may have brought nuclear energy into the spotlight in a negative fashion, but perceived safety issues are not a new problem. The question of what to do with spent nuclear fuel has been a point of contention for years. Long-term storage sites face political and regional opposition, leading to uncertainty in the storage market. With the rise of lone wolf-style terrorism, new physical safety concerns have also emerged. The threat of a single-person infiltration with destructive intent has changed the way security forces are trained and protocols conducted at nuclear sites around the globe. The largest challenge with these safety concerns, however, is propaganda, resulting from several high-profile nuclear accidents: 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl, and Fukushima. Despite the fact that these 3 accidents are the only major accidents in the industry's history, and 2 out of the 3 occurred more than 30 years ago, activist and anti-nuclear propagandists continually point to these events as evidence that nuclear energy should not be pursued. Nuclear power is at its heart a safe energy source. However, in some extreme circumstances, highly visible, high-consequence reactor accidents have occurred. 3 times, in fact. The first of these 3 major accidents is 3 Mile Island. On March 28, 1979, 3 Mile Island Unit 2 experienced a partial meltdown after a stuck-open relief valve followed by incorrect operator actions led to a loss of coolant casualty. Despite the damage to the core, only a very small amount of radioactive gases were released. Unit 2's containment remained intact. Until 2011, the Chernobyl disaster was the most recognizable nuclear accident in history. Between the 25th and 26th of April 1986, improper operator action during a late-night safety test led to an uncontrolled criticality of the Unit 4 reactor. The subsequent catastrophic failure of the reactor's containment following a steam explosion exposed the core to atmosphere. The resultant graphite fire burned for over a week, sending mass quantities of fission airborne and triggering radiation alarms across Europe. Approximately 30 deaths are directly attributed to this disaster, and over 130 cases of radiation sickness. Additionally, a link to large numbers of cancers in the population is strongly suspected. A large radius around the plant, including the entire city of Pripyat, remains uninhabited to this day. On March 11, 2011, a magnitude 9.0 earthquake occurred off the coast of Japan, shifting the entire island several meters east and causing a 15-meter tsunami that wiped out the power supplies and cooling mechanisms for 3 operating Fukushima Daiichi reactors, as well as one that was shut down at the time of the event. Units 1 through 4 of the facility experienced varying levels of meltdown as a result of this cooling loss, with Units 1 through 3 experiencing total meltdown of the reactor core. In the first 6 days after the accident, high levels of fission products were released, though no deaths or cases of radiation sickness have been attributed to this event. Just after the dawn of the century, a new process for utilizing previously unavailable reserves of natural gas emerged. Fracking is the extraction of natural gas from shale rock. It has become a highly controversial but widely used method for natural gas acquisition. Between 2000 and 2010, natural gas production increased 12-fold due to the rise of fracking. Combined with the relatively lax regulations on fracking in comparison to nuclear, this caused a dramatic drop in natural gas prices per British thermal unit. Nuclear energy is also facing an economic challenge in the form of government subsidization of so-called green renewables. Under current tax laws, 59% of tax preferences go towards renewable energy sources, as compared to just 1% towards nuclear energy. Additionally, 35% of the Department of Energy's investments in energy technologies and energy efficiency is dedicated to renewable energy, vice 15% to the same for nuclear. The combination of these two factors leads to false suppression of renewable energy costs that nuclear cannot reasonably compete with. Now, my co-author Terry will introduce you to a possible solution to this nuclear dilemma: the small modular reactor.